The Kings fall to the Mavericks 132-96 in the first game of this little two-game mini series for sixth place in the West. Pretty much an unfortunate start to this little two-game series. I was at this game, my first and possibly only game of the year. Not how I wanted that to go. It's not necessarily too surprising. Maybe surprising about how much the Kings lost by 36 points. That was very rough. I think when you look at the schedule, the Kings have been on this trend of win-win loss, win-win loss, win-win loss. They're coming off a win-win. So here was the loss. So they continue that trend. No doubt it was tough. Fifth game in 7 nights, and Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back as well, and they had to travel. So, they have travel excuse and rest excuse as well. And this was, it was an important game, but I am happy that there is still a game on Friday against the Mavericks that we can just bounce back in right away in that game. I think this is just one of those games that you just have to say, yeah, that's just one of the losses this season. Sometimes the other team is going to shoot really well and you maybe aren't. And us having three of our best shooters out injured right now does not help at all. Playing the fifth game in 7 nights, like this, I think this is just one of those games that you just have to forget about right after it happens. And again, it really helps that you have that game on Friday that you just immediately bounce back. I'm not going to go through this game like super chronologically, and I'm not going to go through a lot of specific plays because I was at the game, so I wasn't like noting things down. And to be honest, I don't want to go back and watch that game again, at least not right now. And so, going to be a little bit more general here. But the first half was definitely not bad for the Kings, not bad at all. They, went into halftime down 5, and I think that was a pretty big victory to only be down 5 with the way the Mavericks were shooting. You have PJ Washington, who has been struggling with his shot since he got to the Mavericks. He knocks down his first 3 threes. Derrick Jones Jr. is knocking one down, right? I mean, you just look at the role players on the Mavericks. PJ, 4 for 6 from 3. Derrick Jones Jr., 2 for 4. You have Tim Hardaway, 4 for 6. Dante Exum, 2 for 3. And so when you have Luka Doncic hitting step back 3 after step back 3, Kyrie Irving knocking down his shots, I mean, you have to blitz those guys and take the ball out of their hands. And so if those other guys are going to hit shots, then, I mean, that's just tough, and you kind of have to live with that. And that's what the Kings did. In the first half, you had Luka getting 26, hitting some very tough shots. I mean, just a really tough player to guard, obviously. But the Kings were shooting pretty well at that point by halftime. De'Aaron Fox was huge in that second quarter. When it felt like maybe the game was getting away a little bit, he subs back in, immediately goes on a little, 5-0 run by himself and steadies the ship. That was huge. And I think he scored 11 in the second quarter. I really think the only thing that the Kings didn't do well in the first half is offensively in transition. They were really poor. And it's something that I've criticized them throughout this season. It feels like so many times they have these man advantage situations and they just don't convert them. I saw a stat about like the top guys in points per or points on the fast break, in transition. Fox was pretty high in points per game in transition, but he wasn't high in points per possession. He's not converting as much, and this Kings team in general, I don't think has a very good points per possession in transition. And that really hurt in this one. They were only down 5 at half. It could have been even better if they just converted some of these chances, because in transition, if you turn the ball over, they're just going right back the other way and dunking the ball pretty much every time. And so it's these 4-point swings that happen when you don't convert. And I think there were just sloppy passes in transition, just really sloppy passes for no reason. And 2, like the amount of times guys could have just drove straight to the rim, but like they have their head up And instead of just going straight at the rim and drawing the defender, they're like trying to make that pass early. And so instead of either going to the rim and getting a layup or going to the rim and drawing that defender, they're like spacing to the perimeter with the ball. And that was allowing defenders to, sag off and try to defend the pass. And they were doing that. And they were intercepting the ball. And, there was just some sloppy plays like that that hurt the Kings. And I really just think the Mavericks, you look at fast break points, I don't know. ESPN has it 18-8. I think I saw 18-5 somewhere. It can, the fast break numbers can be different depending on where you look. But overall, the Mavericks scored a lot more on the fast break. And that's, something the Kings want to do. The Kings want to be the team that's getting out on the fast break. But instead, they're allowing the Mavericks to get out in the fast break. Like, that's not exactly what the Mavericks want to do. They will take those opportunities when they get them. But that's not built into their game plan like it is with the Kings. So if the Kings are getting beat in that department, that's a very bad sign. And it had a lot to do with the Kings just gifting them opportunities by being sloppy with the basketball. Monk, 3 turnovers. Fox, 3 turnovers. Domas, 4 turnovers. And I really just think Dallas, in a lot of ways, played the way that the Kings want to play. They got up 39 threes to the Kings 33s. And even the Kings getting up 33s. A lot of that was in garbage time. Like, I think when garbage time hit, it was like 24 3-point attempts. And they were getting them up in garbage time. So that, 3-point attempt per, 100 is a lot higher in garbage time. So what I'm trying to say is the Kings didn't shoot enough threes. They didn't make the right passes when they were getting into the lane. A couple guys, passing up some shots. Keegan passed up one shot on one possession, I remember, where he was pretty open. And then it just led to the possession going nowhere, and Harrison Barnes had to take a tough mid-ranger. Mike Brown was talking about the spray 3 numbers. They went 5 for 10 on spray 3s in the first half. They went 1 for 4 in the second half. And that very much matches the eye test because they weren't making the right pass when they were getting into the paint in the second half. I thought Sabonis had a really solid first half. His second half, he was turning the ball over inside and not making the right decisions. He wasn't shooting the ball. He was tossing grenades to his teammates when he should be shooting the ball. Like, he started off really well, and then, he's getting to the free throw line. He made some shots, and then he missed a few in a row. Like, he missed a mid-ranger, missed a couple little floaters or half hooks, and it felt like those moments made him lose confidence in himself in a scoring sense. And so when he had opportunities to shoot the ball or go up with the ball around the rim, he wasn't. And he was throwing grenades late in the shot clock to his teammates. That's not good offense. He had opportunities to shoot the ball. He didn't take them. And so I just think for him, like, of course he's not a scorer. Like, that's not who he is. But I think he has to realize that, especially when there's like sub 8 seconds on the shot clock, the best shot we're going to get, if he has it inside, is probably the shot that he's going to take unless he sees someone very open on the perimeter. And there just are going to be some games where he misses a lot of shots, but I want him to keep taking those shots if they're there. If they're not, then that's fine. And there are plenty of games, like plenty of examples of games where teams aren't letting him get the shots off. And so that's fine. He can take 5 shots in a game. I don't care. But I think he should have taken more than 10 shots. He went 3 for 10 on the game. I felt like there were even more shots to be taken for him. I think the second half really showed what the Kings are missing with missing Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and Sasha Vezenkov all at once. Because there just weren't guys taking threes. Guys like Keon Ellis, Chris Duarte, Davion Mitchell, they've been knocking down threes and they have the ability to knock down threes. They're not the same as Kevin Huerter or, Trey Lyles, Sasha Vezenkov. And it just felt like we needed some guys to get some threes up off the bench that we just didn't really have. But also the Kings missed a lot inside. Like a lot of floaters. Fox had it going around the rim in the first half and especially the second quarter. Like, he didn't do much in the first quarter. In the second quarter, he was great. I liked his shot selection. I thought he was aggressive getting to the rim, but in the third quarter, the Kings just had a lot of shots missing just around the rim. Malik Monk hasn't been, you know, great recently. Like he wasn't horrible in this game. He had moments of attacking the rim that were good, but his 3-point shot hasn't been falling. He had some turnovers in, transition situations that he needs to clean up, and we just haven't had those explosive Malik Monk games that we became accustomed to. We haven't had one of those in a while, and we especially need them right now with the injuries that we have to offensive players. I gotta say though, watching him in person, like I was pretty close to the court, and the passes that he makes in the pick and roll are just incredible. Like I don't know how he does it. It's way more insane in person. Some of these passes, like the ones he was feeding into Alex Len, were just so impressive. Alex Len had a solid game, I thought. Like he had some really nice rim protection. Only got credit for one block. Felt like he had more. Malik Monk had a really nice block. The bench definitely wasn't bad in this one. Some guys, like I thought the guys off the bench brought some pretty good energy. And like Malik Monk, despite him not scoring a whole lot, he definitely was bringing the energy off the bench, and he was trying to inject some life into this team. Davion again knocking down 2 for 3 from 3. Chris Duarte couldn't get his shot to fall all that much. And he had some bad moments defensively in the first half, I thought. Just like pushing up on Tim Hardaway Jr. way too close, and then just letting him go right by. Like that was a bad play by him. But for the most part, the bench was solid. Barnes didn't really have his shot falling. I thought, though, he was like taking the right shots, had the right amount of aggressiveness. He just didn't have it falling. Keegan got hot early, had 11 in the first half, was knocking down his shots. Keon also early was knocking down his shots. And what I liked about Keon's game was he very much was taking what the defense was giving him, and he was doing things that I feel like if he didn't do, no one would even bat an eye. Like if he doesn't take a screen, dribble into the mid-range, and take a mid-range jumper, like no one's going to care. But he has the confidence to take that dribble in and take the open jumper. He got like fouled on one for an and one, and he just looked really confident offensively. So that's a big plus when he can be really good offensively. He definitely had a tough time guarding Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie was just making some tough shots from deep. I do think the Mavericks were getting into the paint a little too easily at times, like both in transition, but also in the half court, just getting by one-on-one. And I'm not necessarily expecting the Kings to stay in front one-on-one, but then the help wasn't right there, which either meant the help was late, and then the Maverick, whether it was Luka or Kyrie, was getting in deep. And that either means they're going to score, or if the help does come late, but in time enough, then they're going to have an open pass. Keegan definitely, like, he was forcing him into outside shots a lot of the times. I mean, Luka, he definitely got his fair share inside as well. But I mean, he was just making tough shots outside. Kyrie the same. Like, so many of them were just like, what are you supposed to do? Like, Barnes was guarding him, guarding Luka. Like, he gets the contest off. Like, what are you supposed to do? There were a lot of those moments. I think the differences in the first half, which is Luka hitting some insane shots, the Mavericks role players not missing, the Kings maybe missing out on some transition opportunities, and that's why it felt so good that we were within 5. And then at the start of that, third quarter, it felt like both teams came out a little slow, both teams on the second night of a back-to-back. But the Kings were just gifting them some opportunities. They also tried to go zone at times, and that just did not work at all. The Mavericks were picking it apart, finding easy passes into the middle of the zone to like Gafford or PJ Washington. And these are big players, and you have like a vertical threat most of the time in the dunker spot. That's hard to guard once they get it to the middle of the court. And so they picked us apart in the zone. Obviously, the Kings started blitzing Luka and Kyrie off these screens. But again, they would just, try to dribble out of it. And if they weren't able to, they'd get to the sideline, make a pass. Mavericks would drive, make that extra pass, and it would result in a pretty open 3. And they were just knocking them down. The bench did try to make a run late in the third quarter. Like Davion, Monk, Len, was Fox out there as well, maybe. But it was really Monk like trying to create offensively and get downhill towards the rim. He sprayed out to Davion for a three, and then they got a stop, and then Keegan got an open three and just missed that. Then the Mavericks, they like came up with a 50-50 ball, a loose ball, and Hardaway just like dribbles straight into a mid-ranger, and then Malik misses the layup on the other end to end the quarter, like in and out. And so it felt like there was a little bit of life towards the end of the third quarter, and we got something going with that unit of Monk, Davion, Keegan, Len. I don't know. I assume Fox was the other guy out there. I can't remember. But we had something going, but it just like didn't quite go our way towards the very end of that quarter. And so that kind of made it so it felt like there was pretty much no chance going into the fourth quarter. That's really all I got for this game. Probably a little shorter than normal, but I just, I didn't have notes that I was taking throughout the whole game, so I don't have quite as much to talk about. But looking forward to Friday against this Mavericks team. One, hopefully they're just not making as many shots. I mean, that's one thing. But two, you just have to be better with the ball, make better passes. Quality of pass matters. Like I feel like I've talked about it before this season. Like I think the quality of a pass is an underrated thing in the NBA because anyone can just like drive into the paint and chuck it out to their teammate. But if it's not a really good pass right into their shooting pocket, in an instant, the defender's going to be out there to defend that. We just need to be cleaner in the passes that we make and make sure that when we're getting into the paint, the decision making is better. Hopefully we can make a few more shots around the rim. That would be nice. We need Malik Monk to have a better scoring game. Like he hasn't scored very much recently. Sabonis needs to make better decisions with the basketball when he gets inside. And he just needs to shoot the ball when it's late in the shot clock. Win the fast break battle, get more sprayed threes up. I think when you look at the first half, there was a lot to like and a lot to build on. So just got to take a few things from this game, forget the rest of it, and get this split in this little two game series because it's very important to get the tiebreaker against the Mavericks and also just another game late in the season. After that game on Friday against Dallas, we finish up the homestand against Utah and the Clippers. Those are two games that are very, very winnable because Utah obviously just not great. The Clippers, I think, have won one game against a team above 500 since the All-Star break. I believe that's what the stat is. They've been sliding, and that could be a very big game. Like the Kings could absolutely catch the Clippers. And so then, if you pass the Clippers, if you keep the Suns behind you, it doesn't even matter what you do with Dallas or New Orleans. New Orleans lost tonight. That was nice. I think there's a lot of focus around the Kings, the Mavericks, the Suns, the Pelicans, and especially the Clippers. The Pelicans have been playing well, so less so them, but especially the Clippers. Like they're right in this race as well to get knocked into the play-in. And so it's not just Dallas and Phoenix, although still very important to beat Dallas in this next one. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. I will be back Friday night to recap the next game against the Mavericks. Peace.